Hello, and thank you for joining us on this informational video. My name is Michael Spaeth, Principal Planner of the Town of Oro Valley and Project Manager for this community engagement effort. This video is intended to provide background information and prepare residents for 3 upcoming community engagement events aimed at gathering input on new proposals to introduce a broader tax base and adjust select fees. The proposed changes are designed to help the town continue delivering high-quality services and maintaining essential infrastructure. We have 3 upcoming events that will be held on Zoom, starting on July 9th with the Parks and Rec Department, followed by Finance on July 10th, and then finishing with Stormwater on July 15th. Representatives from each department will be providing background information on the new proposals during this video. We look forward to seeing you online and hearing from you during the upcoming community engagement events. Thank you. Have a great day.
Good evening once again, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So we'll go through a few slides, and I know a number of you have seen some of these slides already. They have been slightly tweaked and updated. Why are we proposing new revenues or new revenue tax categories for the town? Primarily it's for public safety and road quality, keep our public safety response and road quality at the highest level and what our residents expect and deserve. There are some other benefits to residents and businesses which you can read there, but just want to highlight again primarily the purpose here would be keeping our public safety response and road quality at the highest level. I think it's been mentioned throughout the budget process. We started with the 5-year forecast, presented that early on to kind of kick off the budget process. We are continuing to see a deficit balance in year 5 in the capital fund, according to our forecast. And of course, our capital expenditures are funded through operational surpluses, and that surplus is receding. And I think this slide really highlights that receding aspect of it. If you take our forecast for 29-30 and subtract our forecast for 24-25, our income growth is about $6.25 million. Not per year, but just over that 5-year period. That's how much our income grows. If you look at our operational expense growth, looking at personnel and O&M, that is growing at $8.89 million. So you can see at some point that our operating expenditures, they are growing at a faster pace than our operating income, and we need to remedy that in some way, in some form or fashion. And I'll just add here that on March 18th, 2025, this is not just an issue that's specific to Oro Valley. The city of Phoenix actually increased their sales tax rate from 2.3% to 2.8%, so a half cent, due to some of the same issues that we're experiencing. So this is an issue that is impacting cities and towns across the spectrum and really across the state in Arizona. Here's the capital fund, and again, you see the deficit fund balance there, and I'm not going to linger on that because you've seen these numbers before. Our strategic plan, the current one, not the one that was adopted earlier this evening, but the current year strategic plan does have objective 7.1.1, which states prioritize financial stability by evaluating current revenue sources and exploring new opportunities annually. We believe that this objective is being fulfilled by evaluating these tax categories. You've seen this information before, again, through the budgets process. Our local sales tax, the rolling amounts on a month-by-month basis are flat and have been flat for about 3 years now. And then state shared income tax, again, if you look at our 2024 actuals, kind of bottom out in 2026, growing again through 2030, but really not even getting back up to the 2024 actual amounts, and again, that's causing some challenges for us on the revenue side. So our proposal, we have 3 categories here that are proposed for council. Again, no decisions. This is just a study session this evening, but just as a refresher, use tax, a telecom tax, and a commercial rental tax. Now, each of these categories are levied in our surrounding districts, City of Tucson, Town of Marana, and Town of Sahuarita, but they are not levied by the Town of Oro Valley. And so we believe that this would put us on, with some of these fiscal challenges moving forward over the next 5 years in our forecast, would put us on equal, at a minimum, equal footing with some of those cities and towns that we are neighboring in the region. And then finally, just I'll leave this, that our proposal here would be that none of these additional revenues really, and again, this would be up to council's discretion at some point in the future when if you decide to vote on it, but none of these additional revenues would be utilized for operational purposes. We would restrict them for capital needs and capital purposes, because as you are all well aware, we don't really have a strong dedicated funding source for our capital needs, and we believe that this will alleviate some of the pressure that we're experiencing even in the general fund with transferring out resources into the highway fund and the capital fund for those needs. So
I'll jump straight to the point. As Mr. Wilkins mentioned earlier, this is a formal process that stormwater goes through. We've been working on this for quite some time now. However, we understand the importance of we have so many things coming at the same time. We want to bundle it together with everybody else so the community gets the full picture. So staff brought to the Stormwater Commission several scenarios, several alternatives to discuss what our rate should be, everything from no raise to an increase. Through that process, the Stormwater Commission chose a $2 per month increase that would increase from our current $4.50 per month per either residence or ERU. That's a equivalent residential unit, and I'll go into that a little bit later. Up to make it now $6.50 a month. Like I said, the increase is $2 a month flat for the residents. Commercial will be dependent upon the size of the commercial. And again, I have a calculation in this, and if you've read forward and seen the presentation, you'll see what I'm talking about. I want to put some context to this. Although this is indeed a 44% increase, if you do the straight math here, we have not raised the rate since 2016. It'll be over 9 years since the rate has increased. And I want to put that in context because I know some of you had this question. What does that look like with inflation? Well, inflation over that same time period, just general inflation, was 33.94%. What we're going to use this for is for construction for CIP projects. And if you look at CIP or just the general construction field, there's several indicators out there. There's several folks that tabulate this. The one that we have referenced here is the TradeWinds Construction Cost Index. And over that same period, the cost of stuff has gone up to build by 62.5%. I deal with reality. You know I come to you for money all the time, every time it raises on me. So I took a look at, these are main components that we deal with when you're dealing with stormwater projects. There's a whole long list I could do, but just to give you an indication, riprap, just rock, over that time period, gone up by 50%. Concrete, 76%. Imported fill, 75%. It's all in that 60-70% range that costs continue to go up in the construction field. Now, what will that money provide, and what's the intent of this? It's really to deal with CIP. We're an aging community. We have aging infrastructure. And presently, right now, we don't have CIP in the rate. In that $4.50 rate that was created in 2016, that was to cover really kind of governmental requirements that were thrown upon the town. We scratch and we scrounge and we get grants and we beg Pima County for money and we do everything we can to be able to pay for our projects. However, it's getting harder and the money's getting drier. And one of the things the Stormwater Commission said was, We don't want to be reliant on the chance of getting outside funding. Can we come up with a reasonable rate that we can self-fund our projects? So the $651,000 per year, roughly 50 to 100,000 in design for a project, and then 300 to 500,000 for a project each and every year. We got a long list of projects, and we need to start knocking them out because town's not getting any younger. Some of the current projects, I just off that list, what I think are some of our more important ones, the Mudder's Wash flood wall. You all know in 2014, the townhomes, the Oro Valley townhomes, some of them flooded out due to that microburst. We've got Catalina Ridge Main Channel. We're constantly keeping that thing band-aided together. Carmack Wash at Shadow Mountain Estates. It's meandering and tearing things apart. In fact, it was a major Southwest Gas improvement through there because their pipes became exposed. I've got erosion on their own golf course against some of the homes on the fairways. We have the Highlands Wash, where the county said that they would do our local match. It's getting tighter over at the county to get that money. So if we ever got that FEMA grant for $4 million, we're still going to need $400,000 of our own money to be able to do that match and accept that money. So that's really, in a nutshell, this is what this is paying for. Now, we have heard rumor, but I don't have anything substantiated yet, that there will be new federal regulations, federal and state regulations coming down the pike. This will help with that. But if anything too unpalatable comes along, we'll be looking at maybe smaller increments throughout, from this point forward, going in tandem with the water utility. But for the time being, we do need to get our projects done, and that's what this is for. Just to get a little background and history for those particularly new in the council. Our stormwater utility was put into code in 2001. We had our commission in 2003, and then we put our first fee together, which was $290, which covered some very minimal things. In 2005, and then when the feds came up with a whole bunch of new rules and regulations, which is this list, we changed it to $450 back then. Now we are somewhat balanced in our fee right now to take care of all of this stuff. Well, what you want to notice on here, there's not one word of project. And again, we got to get projects done, so that's why we've made the proposal as it stands. And I wanted to run you through that commercial side because I know we are sensitive to the commercial market around here as well. What is a equivalent residential unit? Well, we have it defined as 4,000 square feet. That's kind of an industry standard. So this is an example because apartments are treated like commercial as much as, say, the Oro Valley Marketplace or La Posada. You take all the impervious surface. We do a GIS analysis. We come up with how many square feet that is. We divide that by 4,000. That gives you how many ERUs. Right now, this particular apartment complex, they pay $544.50 a month. With the new rate increase, that would go up to $786.50 a month.
I'm Matt Jankowski, the Deputy Director for the Parks and Recreation Department. In keeping with the theme of the evening, I'll be sharing some proposed fee increases that we have across our department, specifically highlighting memberships and rental fees. Those encompass quite a few different areas, so I'll go into a little bit more detail. But ultimately, the purpose is also to generate some additional capital funds so that we can do projects in future years. One of the other things, too, kind of keeping in the same thing, with the fees that you'll be seeing, many of them, all save but one fee has not been increased in more than a decade, and a couple other fees have not seen increases in multiple decades. So these are very long-standing fees that we have, and ultimately what we have done, staff has worked over a series of months, is to not only come up with fees that we feel are fair and justifiable, because the majority of the users who are going to be paying these fees are going to be our residents, but we've also taken the time to make sure that we've met with the primary user groups that are going to be affected by these rate increases. We've met with the Community Center Advisory Board, We've met with our tennis contractor. We've met with the Oro Valley Sports Alliance and all of the major youth sports organizations who rent fields. We've met with the Oro Valley swim teams who utilize the aquatic center. We've met with the Push Ridge Archers. So we have done, over the last 3 months, a lot of legwork to share this information with them to get some feedback on the front end of this before we brought something to you all. So we felt confident in it. And ultimately, the overarching response we received from those organizations was we were aware that this was coming, and while nobody really likes their fees to be increased, this was certainly palatable what we were presenting. So I will get into specifically what all of these fees are. I know that this is a little dense. This information was included in your packets as well. But ultimately what you can see here, and I'll start over here on the left-hand side, is our Community and Recreation Center memberships. These fees that you see that are currently right now are the same fees that were implemented when the town took ownership of the building 10 years ago. We've got our current resident fee, our proposed resident fee, our current non-resident fee, that's what NR stands for, and our proposed non-resident fee. You'll also notice throughout the fees that we're presenting, we did hear you as town council members. There is a significant benefit in fees associated with being a resident compared to non-resident across the board for what it is that we're showing here, specific to memberships. It is important, I think, to note, just for everybody's general knowledge, we do have a separation right now, certainly for non-residents. When it comes to the Community and Recreation Center, 90% of our over 4,000 members are Oro Valley residents. So non-residents do make up a relatively small portion of what that is. But as you can see here, these are the fees being proposed. Very what we would consider fair increases on the resident side of things, with higher fees associated with the non-resident fees. You'll see, looking down at the lower section on the left-hand side, the premium memberships. There are a little bit higher increases associated with that. That's a combination not only of the time since an increase, but also the additional benefits that you're getting with a premium membership. You get more benefits as a part of that, and this new fee proposals is reflective of the value that you're getting for that exclusivity or that advanced reservation time that you're able to get. On the right-hand side, you'll see the Oro Valley Aquatic Center first. The Oro Valley Aquatic Center has roughly 600 steady members throughout the course of the year. Of that 600, 70% are residents, 30% are non-residents. From what we've been able to gather and notice is that non-resident number is higher there, mainly because that is the only facility really of its type in the area. An Olympic pool, programming that's offered out of that facility that you can't get anywhere based on size and scope, really is a draw for the area and leads to that increased non-resident usage just because there is no other option. People are willing to travel for this. So again, you can see the difference in the fees that are being proposed there. And lastly, you'll see the archery memberships. These archery memberships have not seen any sort of an increase since 2013. So slight increases here associated with each different membership. It is something we did want to note across the board. None of the youth memberships have gone up in any capacity. We don't have what we would consider a large number of youth memberships in any one of our categories, but that's certainly something we didn't want to touch to continue to allow youth members to have the opportunity to utilize the facility and get a membership. So moving on from memberships, now we're looking at rentals. There's a couple slides associated with this, and I'll break down each one as I did before. On the left-hand side, we're looking at field rentals, and as you can see there, these are the same fees that were being charged back in 1999, which is actually when the town of Oro Valley created a Parks and Recreation Department. So these fees have been completely unchanged since the town had a department that rented fields. The biggest change here that you'll notice is related to peak and non-peak hours. We rent fields right now based on the time of day. The fees associated with that are based on more popular times. Less popular times are obviously less expensive. We also have a little bit of a different structure with regards to our fees. We don't have a flat resident, non-resident. We have resident and nonprofit, which are a similar rate, and non-resident and for-profit are a similar rate. So while there are a number of fees kind of listed here, the majority of the users are going to see a $2 per hour increase because just about all organizations are using field space in the evenings and on weekends when they're paying what essentially would be the peak hourly rate. So that rate would go from $10 to $12. Again, in meeting with the user groups, that was certainly something that was palatable to them. Moving along on the right-hand side, the rentals shown for the Oro Valley Aquatic Center and Community and Recreation Center lap lanes. Currently, right now, we charge similarly to the way that we do field rentals, where residents and nonprofits pay the same rate as non-residents and for-profit organizations. So currently, it costs $6 per lane per hour to rent a lane. We're talking about increasing that $1 as it relates to a short course lane that's going the short side of the pool, just like it sounds. If you are a non-resident, that fee doubles, or a for-profit. The long course is going the long way, so it's twice as long, and that's why you see that fee doubled there. Again, it is doubled as well for the nonprofit the non-residents and for-profit users. Again, a slight increase. That is mainly something that our club swim teams using the aquatic center would be the ones paying. Moving down to Steam Pump Ranch reservations, these fees have not been updated since 2008 when the town took ownership of the property. We have a range of fees. It's not really a clear or easy way to share how the fee structure works out at Steam Pump Ranch because it's dependent on your number of attendees who will be at the event. So as it sits right now, the cheapest event you could run, which is less than 100 people, costs you $175, upwards to $1,500. We're proposing to increase that fee to $350 to $1,800. That's for private, that's for nonprofit events, which is the bulk of what takes place out there. That's your weddings, that's your class reunions, that's your private events that are taking place on the property. And then below that is the public for-profit events, which you can see are substantially higher because those have a greater impact on usage of the facility and ultimately the wear and tear on it. Moving on to the next slide here that calls out some additional rentals. I just spoke about Steam Pump Ranch, pulled that out separately just because while it is a park, it's a little bit different, I think, in everybody's mindset and its uses. These event rentals listed here are what it would cost if you were looking to reserve specific areas of a park, or if you wanted to reserve an entire park or a facility for the usage privately, whether that's a triathlon, a concert, a skate competition now that we have the skate park and pump track. All of these fees are called out and listed here. We did create some new fees here with regards to a full day rate rental for some of the parks here. That was something that we wanted to do as a way to assist the tourism effort to allow our economic development team to be able to quote a flat price rather than having to try to add up each amenity, which is what we do currently. It's not the easiest thing to do, especially trying to identify specific areas working with event coordinators. So this list of fees is shown here. And on the right-hand side, pickleball court rentals. I promised that there was a fee that was less than 10 years old, and there it is. As pickleball has become popular and we all became aware of it, it was 2019, if you don't remember. We have fees here for renting the pickleball courts. Again, set up for resident nonprofits and non-resident for-profit rates there. In closing there, I just want to highlight again, residents do receive the best pricing. We listen to you as council and did our best to reflect that here. We are certainly open to feedback. And we've we've met and spoke with a number of these user groups that are listed on here. We receive positive feedback from everybody. Like I said, nobody necessarily likes their fees being increased, but certainly what was proposed was palatable. And one of the other things we did in giving them as much notice as possible, meeting with these groups back in March and April, and sharing with them that we would not anticipate these fees, based on the timeline, these fees going into effect until earliest January 2026 from what we could tell. We gave them a substantial amount of time so that they could prepare for any sort of increases that may be happening. And with that, that is my presentation.